If you're over 50 and you're tired all the time, there's something you should know before you blame it on getting older. Because waking up exhausted, running out of energy by lunchtime, or feeling like even simple things take more effort is not always just part of aging. And it may not be your liver either. Fatigue can have many possible causes. Some are surprisingly simple. Others are worth discussing with your doctor. And one of them is so easy to overlook that you might never think to connect it with your energy level. So in the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 7 possible reasons you may feel exhausted after 50. But don't skip ahead, because the reason you feel tired may not be the reason you expect. Think about a typical morning. You wake up after what seemed like a full night of sleep. You get out of bed, make your coffee, and tell yourself, "I'll feel better in a little while." But an hour passes, then another, and somehow you're still waiting for your energy to show up. Maybe you start wondering if something is wrong with your liver. Maybe you think your hormones are changing. Maybe you simply assume, well, I'm over 50. I guess this is normal now. That last thought deserves a closer look. Getting older can change your sleep, your muscle strength, your daily routine, and the way your body responds to stress. But persistent fatigue has many possible explanations, including sleep problems, anemia, certain medical conditions, emotional stress, and even some medications. That doesn't mean you have any of these problems. Fatigue is a symptom, not a diagnosis, and that distinction matters. The goal of this video is not to convince you that something is wrong with you. It's to help you recognize patterns, ask better questions, and know when persistent tiredness deserves attention. Because sometimes the answer is surprisingly practical. Maybe your sleep isn't as restorative as you think. Maybe something in your routine is quietly draining your energy. Or maybe your body is giving you a signal that shouldn't simply be dismissed as aging. And here's where we're going to start. Before we talk about vitamins, thyroid problems, medications, or anything more complicated, there's one basic question you need to ask yourself. Are you actually getting the kind of sleep that allows your body to recover? Because you can spend 8 hours in bed and still wake up feeling like you barely rested at all. And that brings us to the first possible reason you're always tired after 50. Let's start with something that sounds almost too obvious: sleep. Most people think of sleep as a simple numbers game. I got 7 hours. I got 8 hours. So why am I still exhausted? Because the amount of time you spend in bed is only part of the story. You can be in bed for 8 hours and still have poor quality sleep. You may wake up several times without fully realizing it. You may sleep lightly. You may wake too early. Or your sleep schedule may simply be inconsistent. And after 50, these changes can become more noticeable. Imagine someone named David. He goes to bed around 10:30 every night and gets up at 6:30. On paper, that sounds pretty good. But David wakes up several times during the night. Sometimes he gets up to use the bathroom. Sometimes he checks the clock. Sometimes he wakes up for no obvious reason and lies there for several minutes before falling back asleep. By morning, he tells himself, "I slept 8 hours." But his body may tell a very different story. This is why one of the most useful questions isn't, "How long did I sleep?" It's, "How do I feel when I wake up?" If you regularly wake feeling unrefreshed, struggle to stay awake during the day, or notice that your energy disappears unusually early, your sleep quality may deserve a closer look. And there's another important clue. If you snore loudly, wake up gasping or choking, experience morning headaches, or feel extremely sleepy during the day, it's worth talking with a healthcare professional. Sleep disorders, including sleep apnea, can interfere with restorative sleep and should not simply be written off as getting older. But here's the interesting part. Even if you improve your sleep, you could still feel exhausted. Why? Because sleep is only one piece of the puzzle. There are other things inside your body that can affect how much energy you have every day. And one of them involves your blood. If your body isn't carrying oxygen efficiently, you may feel weak, tired, dizzy, or short of breath. That brings us to the second possible reason for persistent fatigue after 50. Something many people never think about until a routine blood test brings it to their attention. And it can sometimes be connected to something as simple as a nutrient your body needs. One of the most overlooked possibilities behind persistent fatigue is anemia. Your blood has an important job, carrying oxygen throughout your body. So when you have anemia, your body may not have enough healthy red blood cells or enough hemoglobin to carry oxygen efficiently. And that can leave you feeling unusually tired. You might notice that climbing a flight of stairs feels harder than it used to. Maybe you get short of breath more easily. You feel weak, lightheaded, or simply drained. But here's the tricky part. These symptoms can be easy to blame on age, lack of exercise, or a busy week. That's why persistent fatigue deserves attention rather than assumptions. Anemia can have different causes. Iron deficiency is one possibility. Vitamin B12 deficiency is another. Blood loss and certain medical conditions can also play a role. This is not a reason to start taking iron or B12 supplements on your own. More is not always better, and the right approach depends on the underlying cause. Instead, if your fatigue continues or is affecting your normal activities, talk with your healthcare professional. They may decide that blood tests or other evaluation would be appropriate. Now, here's where the story gets more interesting. Suppose your blood work looks fine, you're sleeping reasonably well, you're eating fairly well, and yet you still feel like someone quietly turned down your energy. What else could be happening? This is where we need to talk about your thyroid. Your thyroid is a small gland in your neck, but thyroid hormones help regulate many processes throughout the body. When the thyroid is underactive, a condition called hypothyroidism, symptoms can include fatigue, feeling unusually cold, dry skin, constipation, and changes in weight or mood. But there's an important warning here. Having one of these symptoms does not mean you have a thyroid problem. Fatigue is common, and there are many possible explanations for it. That's why looking at the whole picture matters. And there's another reason this section is important for anyone over 50. Sometimes the symptoms that seem unrelated are actually telling you the same story. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you feel colder than usual. Maybe your energy has changed. Maybe your concentration isn't what it used to be. None of these signs proves anything by itself. But together, they may be worth discussing with your doctor. And just when you think we've covered the obvious medical possibilities, there's another potential energy thief hiding in plain sight. You may already be taking it every day, and you may have no idea it could be contributing to how tired you feel. Sometimes the thing making you feel tired isn't something you're missing. It may be something you're already taking. Medications can be incredibly important. They can help manage blood pressure, pain, allergies, depression, heart conditions, and many other health problems. But some medications can also cause drowsiness, weakness, dizziness, or fatigue in certain people. And after 50, this becomes especially worth discussing because many adults take more than one medication. Imagine taking a medication for one condition, another for something else, and perhaps an over-the-counter product for allergies or sleep. Each one may seem harmless by itself, but your overall medication routine is what matters. This does not mean your medication is wrong, and it absolutely does not mean you should stop taking anything on your own. Instead, think of your medication list as part of your fatigue investigation. If you've noticed a major change in your energy, tell your healthcare professional exactly what you're taking, including prescription medications, over-the-counter products, and supplements. Sometimes a healthcare professional may review the timing, dose, combination, or possible side effects. That simple conversation could uncover something you hadn't considered. But now we reach a much bigger question. What if your medications aren't the problem? What if your blood work looks normal? What if you're sleeping reasonably well? Could your daily habits themselves be changing how much energy you have? This is where the story takes a surprising turn. Because after 50, One of the biggest energy traps can be doing less because you feel tired. It sounds logical. You feel exhausted, so you sit more. You stop taking long walks. You avoid the stairs. You spend more time in the chair because you're trying to conserve energy. And for a while, that may feel like the sensible thing to do. But your muscles respond to what you ask them to do. When you move less for long periods, you can gradually lose strength and physical capacity. Then everyday activities may require more effort. Walking across a parking lot feels harder. Carrying groceries takes more energy. Standing up from a chair becomes less automatic. And suddenly, you may feel tired, not because you did too much, but because ordinary movement has become more demanding. This creates a frustrating cycle. You feel tired, so you move less. You move less, so you become weaker. Then everyday activities require more effort, and that can make you feel even more tired. Breaking that cycle doesn't require becoming an athlete, but it may require something much simpler. And in the next part, we're going to talk about the overlooked connection between movement, muscle, and everyday energy after 50. Here's a question that can change the way you think about fatigue after 50. What if some of your tiredness isn't caused by doing too much, but by having less physical capacity than you used to? This is where muscle becomes important. Muscle isn't just about looking strong or lifting heavy weights. Your muscles help you stand, walk, climb stairs, carry groceries, get out of a chair, and maintain balance. And when those everyday movements become harder, they can take more effort than they used to. That can leave you feeling drained by activities that once felt completely ordinary. Now, this doesn't mean you need an intense workout program. For many adults over 50, the goal is much simpler. Keep your body moving and gradually maintain or improve strength within your abilities. A short walk, a few minutes of gentle mobility work, standing up from a chair several times, light resistance exercises, taking the stairs when it feels safe. These small actions can add up. And there's something else worth remembering. If you've been inactive for a while, suddenly doing too much can leave you feeling worse. The better approach is gradual. Start with what you can safely handle and build from there. If you have a medical condition, significant pain, balance problems, or you're unsure what type of exercise is appropriate, talk with your healthcare professional before making major changes. But now we need to take this one step deeper, because sometimes you can sleep well. Your blood work may be normal. Your medications may not explain the fatigue, and you may even be moving regularly, yet you still feel exhausted. What if the problem isn't physical activity at all? What if your brain and emotional system are quietly using more energy than you realize? Think about the last time you went through a stressful period. Maybe you were worried about money. Maybe you were caring for someone you love. Maybe you were dealing with grief, loneliness, uncertainty, or a major life change. You may not describe yourself as stressed, but your body can still feel the weight of it. Stress, anxiety, depression, and grief can all affect energy, sleep, concentration, and motivation. And sometimes emotional exhaustion feels surprisingly physical. You don't necessarily feel sad. You just feel tired. That's why it's important not to treat fatigue as purely a physical problem. Your body and mind are connected. And there is still one more possibility we need to discuss. One that brings all of these clues together and explains why persistent fatigue should sometimes be taken more seriously. That's where we're going next. There's one more possibility we need to talk about, and it's important because it changes the question completely. Instead of asking, "What can I do to get more energy?" you may need to ask, "Why is my body asking for so much rest in the first place?" Persistent fatigue can sometimes be connected to an underlying health condition. That could include heart problems, kidney problems, infections, diabetes, chronic inflammation, or other medical issues. But before you worry, remember this. Feeling tired does not mean you have one of these conditions. fatigue is extremely common, and there are many less serious explanations. The important point is not to diagnose yourself from a YouTube video. It's to notice when a pattern is unusual for you. Maybe your energy has been steadily declining for several weeks. Maybe you're suddenly struggling with normal activities. Maybe the fatigue comes with other changes, such as unexplained weight changes, persistent shortness of breath, dizziness, unusual weakness, changes in your sleep, or changes in your mood. Those are reasons to have a conversation with your healthcare professional. And this brings us back to the liver. A lot of people hear the word fatigue and immediately wonder whether their liver is the problem. Your liver is certainly an important organ, and liver conditions can cause fatigue. But fatigue by itself does not tell you that your liver is unhealthy. That's an important distinction. Instead of jumping from one symptom to one diagnosis, look at the entire picture. How long has this been happening? Is it getting worse? What other symptoms are present? What medications are you taking? How are you sleeping? How active are you? Have there been changes in your appetite, weight, mood, or ability to do everyday tasks? Those questions can give your healthcare professional much more useful information than simply saying, "I'm tired." And there's another mistake I want you to avoid. Don't assume that because you're over 50, exhaustion is something you simply have to accept. Healthy aging does come with changes, but feeling constantly depleted, especially when it's new or persistent, deserves to be understood. The good news is that you don't have to solve the mystery overnight. You can start with a few simple observations. And in the final part, I'll show you a practical way to organize those clues, decide what deserves attention, and make your next conversation with your doctor much more productive. So, if you're always tired after 50, what should you actually do? Start with something simple. Stop guessing. For the next several days, pay attention to your energy instead of simply fighting through it. Notice when you feel most tired. Is it first thing in the morning? After meals? In the afternoon? After a poor night of sleep? Or does the fatigue seem to be there from the moment you wake up? These patterns can be surprisingly useful. Next, take a closer look at your sleep. Ask yourself whether you wake feeling refreshed, whether you wake frequently during the night, and whether someone has noticed loud snoring or unusual breathing while you sleep. Then look at your daily movement. Are you spending most of the day sitting? Could you safely add a few short walks or simple strength exercises? You don't need to transform your entire lifestyle overnight. Small, consistent changes are often more realistic than extreme plans. Then, review your medications and supplements. Make a complete list and bring it to your healthcare professional. Don't stop or change prescription medications on your own. Instead, ask whether any of them could contribute to tiredness or drowsiness, and pay attention to the bigger picture. Have you noticed unexplained weight changes? Persistent shortness of breath? Dizziness? Unusual weakness? Changes in mood? Or fatigue that has continued for weeks and is interfering with normal life? Those are good reasons to talk with a healthcare professional. And remember the 7 possibilities we covered. Poor quality sleep, anemia or nutrient problems, thyroid issues, medications, low activity and muscle loss, stress or emotional exhaustion, and underlying health conditions. None of these automatically mean something is wrong with you. They are simply possibilities worth understanding. And that may be the most important message in this entire video. Getting older does not mean you have to ignore how you feel. You don't need perfect health. You don't need endless energy. And you certainly don't need to become afraid of every symptom. What you need is awareness. Pay attention to your body. Ask good questions. Get appropriate medical advice when something doesn't seem right. And keep doing the basics that support healthy aging. Sleep well, eat a balanced diet, stay active, protect your strength, and stay connected with the people and activities that give your life meaning. Because the goal after 50 isn't to feel 25 again. It's to stay strong, mobile, independent, and informed for as long as possible. If this video helped you understand your fatigue a little differently, consider following or subscribing for more practical, evidence-informed, healthy aging content. And if you want to take the next step, watch our upcoming video on the simple daily habits that can help protect muscle strength after 50. Because sometimes the best way to have more energy tomorrow isn't to push yourself harder today. It's to build a stronger body, one small habit at a time. Before we finish, I want you to think about one simple question. What if feeling tired all the time is not something you simply have to accept? Maybe you have been telling yourself that this is just what happens after 50. Maybe you have gotten used to needing coffee in the morning, feeling drained in the afternoon, or sitting down at the end of the day because you simply do not have the energy you used to have. But getting older and feeling exhausted all the time are not necessarily the same thing. In this video, we looked at 7 possible reasons you may feel tired after 50. We talked about poor quality sleep, anemia and nutrient problems, thyroid issues, medications, low physical activity and muscle loss, stress and emotional exhaustion, and underlying health conditions. Some of these possibilities may be relatively simple to address. Others may require a conversation with your healthcare professional. The important thing is not to panic and not to diagnose yourself. Instead, pay attention to what your body is telling you. If your fatigue continues for weeks, becomes worse, or starts interfering with your normal activities, do not automatically assume that it is simply a part of getting older. Write down what you are experiencing. Notice when your energy is lowest. Pay attention to your sleep. Keep a list of your medications and supplements, and tell your healthcare professional about any changes that concern you. Sometimes, one of the most useful things you can do for your health is ask the right question. And here is the final thought I want you to remember. Your goal after 50 is not to wake up every morning feeling 25 again. That is not necessary. Your goal is to have enough strength and energy to enjoy the life you have built. You want to be able to take a walk, carry your groceries, work in the garden, travel, spend time with your family, play with your grandchildren, and get up from a chair with confidence. That is what healthy aging is really about. So if you have been feeling tired lately, do not immediately blame your age. Do not automatically assume that your liver is the problem. And do not ignore a persistent change in how you feel. Listen to your body. Learn what those signals may mean, and get professional guidance when you need it. If this video gave you something useful to think about, follow the channel and subscribe for more practical, evidence-informed videos about healthy aging after 50. And when you are ready for the next video, take a look at our upcoming guide about everyday habits that can quietly weaken your muscles after 50 and what you can do to protect your strength. Because getting older is not about being perfect. It is about making small choices that help you stay strong, mobile, independent, and informed. And sometimes, one small change is all it takes to begin living better after 50.